Great. So we're connecting through to the studios here there in Stockholm from here in Santa Marta. Good to see some old faces and old friends over there. We're going to talk about the clean energy transition. It's now a race for speed. It's a race for security. It's a race for resilience. Renewables, storage, electrification, smarter grids are advancing very fast, or certainly in some countries. But bottlenecks in networks, flexibility, and permitting remain. There's also a big untapped opportunity in energy efficiency. In this exponential race to the top session, we will look at how clean energy and energy efficiency can be further accelerated beyond the current curves to accelerate the fossil fuel phase out, of course. Our panelists here in the studio are Vilmar Suarez, Latin America energy analyst for Ember. Very nice to see you. Ember doing great work.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we're all reading Ember right now. It's like, wow, I can't believe that's going on. And then we've got Maria Fernanda Souza, National Director of Climate Change in Uruguay, and a country which I mention many, many times when people say, yeah, okay, so there's some Europeans doing well. I go, but have you heard about Uruguay? People go, no, what's happening in Uruguay? And
that's what we say a lot as well.
Yeah.
We need to talk more about Uruguay.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. And then in Stockholm, in the We Don't Have Time studios, we've got Anna Hall, Head of Public Affairs of the Energy Division of Alfa Laval. And we've got Johan Falk, of course, co-founder and head of the Exponential Roadmap Initiative. I'm going to go to Johan first. Johan, where are we now in the exponential curve for fossil-free energy systems right now?
Yes, so great to be here, Nick, again. Well, we are in a very important moment. You know, 2017, we launched something called the Carbon Law with Joar Rockström, which stated that we need to halve emissions every decade, starting from 2020. But we are now 5 years behind. And that raises the risk for humanity, of course, in terms of risk for irreversible tipping points. But the good news is that we are close to bending the curve. And the reason for that is the exponential evolution of clean electricity and energy efficiency. So that is so incredibly important. Solar is doubling about every third year, wind about every 6 years, and battery storage every year. In 2025, all the growth were actually clean electricity. And as we talked about yesterday, electrical vehicles are at 25% of global sales. Trucks a bit behind on 4%, but we have countries now up over 20%. So these are very important signs, but we need to move even faster to phase out fossil, of course.
Yes, good, Johan. Thank you very much indeed. Just one quick thing. Have we passed the positive tipping point yet? And what is the potential for that to happen?
Yes, for clean electricity, we have passed the point. We believe there is an opportunity to reach what we call the cross point, which is 50% by around 2030, and we should aim for 75% of clean electricity before 2040. We think that is absolutely achievable. We talked about electrical vehicles before. We passed that point, yes. Where we have a very big untapped potential is in energy efficiency. 2025, we delivered 1.8%, which is about 50% of what we should have done. There is a tremendous opportunity in factories, in offices, in private homes, even between 15 and 40% in terms of energy efficient savings. And we definitely have to go after that and untap that. So Yes, we passed the tipping point, and I think we have a tremendous opportunity with the energy crisis now to move even faster and double the pace.
Okay, super. Let's go to Maria Fernanda Souza. So, yeah, tell us how far Uruguay has come in the adoption of the clean energy and energy efficiency. As I was saying before, I think for many people, Uruguay is something of a poster. They call them poster childs, don't they? In South America. So, yeah, very excited to hear from you.
Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak about Uruguay as well. So Uruguay currently has a situation where 98% of our electricity is generated through renewables sources, that being hydro, wind, solar, and biomass. So we are past our first transition, and that was possible thank you not only to the innovation, of course, and not only to the possibility of having access to that innovation, but also it was the result of a stable political decision, which came after social dialogue and an agreement that was reached between all the political parties that we needed to have an energy strategy that would put us out of the security issues that, for instance, many countries are facing now. So that was a decision that was taken around 2009, and then we arrived to an agreement, which is our electric plan for the country, and that goes from 2010 to 2030, and that is fundamentally what made this possible. So it was not just about innovation, it was also political will, and also stability and predictability to the investors and to the market, because this was, of course, promoted from the public sector. That's how it worked. And also in Uruguay, the access to energy is it's considered a human right. So the public sector is the one that is responsible for taking the grid to all the homes. So our coverage, our grid coverage is around 100%.
Wow.
So yeah, we are in a very good position right now.
Do you remember what was it before that political decision was taken? How much was renewable energy in Uruguay? And then, so in other words, how fast has it grown in these last, 15 odd years?
So before renewables, before we started deploying the wind farms, which were like the main renewable energy source for the first transition, it was around 40% hydropower, and the rest of it was fossil fuel based.
Right.
So it was quite a change.
Yeah.
And it happened quite fast because we managed to align the policy, the incentives, and when the political will is there, and when you give the right signals to the market, then the investors respond. Yeah. But there was also a strategy of de-risking. So PPAs were put into work, and also auctions for the private sector to get involved, knowing that the energy that they produce was going to be purchased by the state for some time. So that's what gave the system predictability and allowed for the investors to engage.
So what are the goals and plans now, right? What do you do with this reality when you've got 98% electrification from renewables? It's unbelievable. I mean, do you go playing golf or go to the beach or something? I mean, because you like almost done it, right? Or maybe you haven't, so we'll find out. What are the enablers and blockers also that you need from companies to go faster? So what happens now, and what are some of the things still holding back the ultimate final goal, as it were?
So now our main goal is to electrify transport, which is, I think, that the main worry for all of us. And we have a particular emphasis in public transportation, which is the one that, of course, involves the majority of the people. So we are working in incentives. We are working in international cooperation and means of implementation plays a key role in this. But also, and this is something that we've been talking during the conference, we need to keep thinking about the fiscal dependence of our countries from fossil fuels. For instance, in Uruguay, there is a tax for fossil fuels, and that's a major income for the state. So in order to deliver this massive change, in order to electrify all the transportation, we also need to think how we keep developing, how we keep receiving and having the fiscal stability in order to keep the health system working, the education system working, but also evolving in our electrification of the transport market. So that's a challenge now.
Yes.
I would love to be playing golf.
Okay.
But no.
Anna, let's bring you in from Alfa Laval, because we can come back to these issues. Talk about the potential of energy efficiency solutions, and I mean, how far have you come as Alfa Laval, right? What are your goals, your plans? How do you turn those into an advantage?
Absolutely. I think energy efficiency is the most cost-efficient way to really get going on both on climate decarbonization, of course, and move away from fossil fuels, but absolutely towards our energy security, energy affordability, and also our competitiveness. So if we look upon, I mean, it's music to my ears to hear Uruguay here. Just look upon the EU system. I mean, if we haven't been working with energy efficiency in EU the last 2 decades, we would have used 27% more energy now, and that is a tremendous amount. And if we look upon EU, if we continue work with energy efficiency, we can reduce fossil fuel imports to EU by 33 billion by 2030. So that's on a system level. But on a company level, Alfa Laval, we really see the energy efficiency is a moneymaker, staying committed. So Alfa Laval, we're going to be reach net zero already 2027. So net zero in scope 1 and 2. And that means also we have a hard target on energy efficiency. We work with energy efficiency improvements of 4% every year. And we also see when we work with this, we reduce our bills. We do hands-on improvements. For example, in our Lund headquarter factory, we are reusing the waste heat from our factory, the pressing oil, and through a big industrial heat pump, we can then heat our premises in Lund, all our offices or our factory buildings and so forth, and cutting our bills with 90% for heating. That's quite tremendous. So energy efficiency money maker, and this is really how we walk the talk ourselves. And we see this is a really, really asset, not only for us as a company, but also on a system level.
Just briefly, in respect to Alfa Laval's work, I mean, you're a global company, but probably maybe we focus a bit here on Europe as further conversation. What are the enablers and the blockers, and what do we need from countries and regions to go faster? Because, as you rightly pointed out, I mean, energy efficiency has had targets before and they haven't been quite achieved. And right now there's a target to double by 2030, isn't there? So what's happening? Are things happening, Anna?
Things are not happening fast enough, as Johan told us here. So we had the pledge in Dubai, where we pledged that we're going to go from 2% to 4% energy efficiency implementation. We're not on baseline. We were 1.8% last year. So it's not happening fast enough. I can see this is both as Alfa Laval or other companies that we work with energy efficiency within our premises, but we also have a huge, tremendous opportunity on a system level. For example, we can reuse the waste heat from industry, we can reuse the waste heat from data centers. This is a tremendous opportunity where we can, I mean, in Helsingborg, in Sweden, we have been reusing the waste heat from a big factory, heating the city since 1974. And many years it has been a bigger business case for the industry to sell heat to the city than actually selling their own chemicals. And we see this around data centers, where data centers heat actually the energy coming into a data center, 90% turns into heat that can then heat buildings, cities, communities, whatever is there. So this is on a system level. So talking about enablers, I think long-term policies, as Uruguay was lifting here, that is really essential. So we by that can mitigate the risk and have a very long-term plan and make it attractive to invest. So we need to have the financing institutes and financing landscape included in the public and private collaboration, so we can do this on a system level. And the long-term policies, that's also a signal to the private sector, right? In this transition, private sector most likely will pay 80% or something for the energy transition. So by sending these long-term policies and directions, we will unlock the money. And talking with finance institutes, both public and private, the money's there. It's just now how we really unlock it so we can get going. So blockers, it's to think on the system level, we need to get going on that one. And on the enablers, it's really how do we then by policies, commitment, mitigate risk, and really implement at speed and scale.
Because a lot of this transformation is actually, there's a bit of a high upfront cost, isn't there? But after that, it, goes down, right? So this is one of the challenges. Vilma, so we've been listening to the Uruguayan success story. Can you give us an overview of how far this region, right, has come on fossil-free energy systems, and who is leading the way? I mean, apart from Uruguay, because it can't be Uruguay, it's the Uruguay show, isn't it? Who is leading the way and who is behind?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me here. Definitely Latin America and the Caribbean is a world leader in renewable generation. That's clear. 63% of the electricity produced in Latin America and the Caribbean comes from renewables. That's great. That's amazing. It's almost double the world average. We are generating here 19% of our electricity from wind and solar, which is great, above the world average. But we have still work to do in the region. 35% of the electricity comes from fossils. In 2015, Latin America and the Caribbean reached the peak of fossil power generation. And since then, we reduced 16% our generation from fossils. So we are doing well, and we have some leaders that are working very, very well. Apart from Uruguay, we have, for example, Paraguay and Costa Rica. They are running 100% renewable energy systems. In the case of Paraguay, because the vast use of hydroelectric power. Mm-hmm. In the case of Costa Rica, is amazing because they are combining hydropower generation with geothermal and with wind generation. So they are doing a great job. Also, a country I would like to highlight is Chile. Chile reached its peak fossil power in 2013, and since then they reduced 33% their fossil power generation. That's great. And now let me talk about those countries that maybe are behind.
Maybe need to pump up their action.
That maybe are behind. And I will say some of the countries in the Caribbean, they rely a lot on fossils for power generation. I'm talking about Cuba, Bahamas, and maybe Barbados. They generate more than 90% of their electricity from fossils. And maybe one of the biggest economies in Latin America, which is Mexico, sadly they are generating more than 70% of their electricity from fossil. And about 55% comes from imported gas. So they need to do better, I think.
Is that because they're trapped in this national free trade thing with the United States of America and Canada?
Yeah, most of the gas they use is from the United States, and they have like a lock-in of the gas infrastructure, so they depend a lot on U.S. gas for power generation.
That's really interesting. And yesterday we had some people, ladies on women, doctors, climate change, health, this sort of thing. One lady was from Mexico City, and she was saying, no, nobody's paying attention to links between health and climate change. Now I understand why, because the government's so invested in the fossil fuel right now. What policies and strategies are needed to accelerate both clean energy and energy efficiency in the region?
Wow, it's clear. I will say, first of all, phasing out coal for power generation is key. We need policies and we need clear commitments in order to in order to avoid the use of coal for power generation, reducing gas, but also is key to combine the deployment of wind and solar with battery storage in order to take full advantage of all that renewable potential for power generation. Combining this, and something we need in Latin America at this moment, is having a regional interconnection. We don't have it. We have one interconnection in Central America, but in order to combine hydro, wind, solar, and storage, it will be key to have a regional interconnection. And in terms of energy efficiency, electrification is maybe the way to improve the industrialization of the region, but also to reduce the use of fossil fuels. So I will say that. Also, one more thing is to have like a market where the user could play like an important role. We have been focused on the supply side, installing renewables, installing wind and solar, but users need to have to play a more important role. We need a demand side market.
Right. Okay. And just finally, you mentioned battery storage. Battery storage is relatively short-term storage, isn't it? Very important. But there's also long-duration energy storage, right? And that is maybe one of the next frontiers for everybody, not just Latin America, but for all nations. We were talking, I was talking with Anna a little bit about this idea of the waste energy from wind and renewables in China, but also in the UK. There's a new thing to take that waste energy from the renewables and get it to compress air into a liquid. And then you can release the air very quickly, and it expands 750 times and drives the turbine. And that's one way of using the waste, because a lot of renewables are being wasted in Europe because there's not enough long-term storage, right? This is all great stuff. Let's focus on Santa Marta for a second. You're both here. What have you heard at the conference? Key takeaways that you would like to share with our audience?
Okay, I've been working during the whole week with the civil society organizations in Santa Marta, trying to to gather information and data in order for pushing for phasing out the use of fossil fuels. And I think civil society organizations are gonna continue working, but they need some specific signals and specific commitments from the governments. Yeah. So that's key. That's my main takeaway. Is everyone is ready to help, but we need some policy and certain regulatory signals in order to push for the phase out of the fossil fuels.
On my side, it would be more about the diverse situations and the diversity of national circumstances of all the countries that are involved here. We are having conversations with fossil fuel producers. We are having conversations with countries like Uruguay, which are mainly renewables, and we don't produce fossil fuels. And then we have other countries who would like to be part of the transformation, but they don't have the means of implementation in order to get there. They don't have the money, and they also have other external situations such as security and the extreme events related to climate change that also jeopardize their infrastructure. So we are all in very different situations, but we are all engaging in these conversations, and we are all ready to commit. And I think that's the most refreshing thing about this forum. And I think, we are ready. We're having meaningful discussions, and we're going to see at the end of the day today how far we can go in that regard.
So, there's a science panel that's been set up with people like Professor Johan Rockström and Carlos Nobre from Brazil. And I know that Rockström would like to do map the exit plan for 15 countries, but with very different economic and social and whatever backgrounds, as almost templates before the COP in Turkey. So we'd have 15 countries with a good mapping of what they need, developed and developing. Anyway, it's exciting times though, actually. So to everyone here, okay, key strategies and concrete actions. What's in your back pocket, Anna?
Stay committed over time. I think the double down, triple up, and electrify now if we can manage to have those thoughts in our head simultaneously, that we need to electrify, we hear then we can implement renewables. But in order to have the electrical grids really working, we need to work with energy efficiency. Industry, private sector is ready to step up, but we really need to send clear signals. You need to do it now. Urgency and opportunity, I would say. Energy efficiency is a moneymaker. Electrification will be as well long term. And I think there is not so much to wait for. We know what to do. We need to get together, be on the same platforms, private sector, public sector, and the financing institutes. Find those models. You talked about upfront cost, Nick, here. Of course, but there are new models. We can have ESCO models. We can have blended finance. We have some other finance where you can actually, with the finance institute, see how you can get paid by savings and so forth. So there are, I would say, the solutions exist when it comes to technology, finance, and there are policies, but we need to start to implement at scale and speed now.
And from your perspective, I mean, we heard a lot just recently on the show before about the challenge in, say, Africa, for example. Maybe it's the same in Latin America with debt, and how some countries find it very difficult to imagine financing an exit from fossil fuels without some cancellation of their debt. Finance seems to be pretty key. Any thoughts?
On my side, absolutely. There's, well, as you know, currently Uruguay is coordinating G77 and China. And it is paramount for the developing countries to everyone to have in mind that the compromise we've arrived in Paris Agreement was that there was going to be public financing for the transition, and that finance, that money was going to be concessional. So we are generating debt in order to arrive to this renewable 100% situation because it was relevant for us at the moment, because it was a security and sovereignty issue, but that's not possible for everyone. So this is also very relevant. We do need to align incentives with the private sector, but there's as well a commitment from the developing world to provide finance to the developing countries, and that needs to be at the center as well.
Yeah, just to say that the resources and the budget should be focused on improving the energy security of the countries, which is key right now, and that means solar, wind, storage, and electrification. That will be key for global South countries in order to improve their industrialization, but also to create like an environment of security for their inhabitants. So that's key.
Yeah, Johan, takeaway messages from this session. What's your call to action?
I mean, we are on an exponential trajectory, so that's very good news. But I think there is an opportunity to double up the pace caused by the energy crisis. So it's really an opportunity to move much faster and see electrification and energy efficiency at two sides of the same coin. They have to go together. And some of the key strategies, of course, is that regions, countries should have clear goals, but not only that, a clear roadmap actually, which is about energy security, it's about competitiveness, it's about bringing growth and prosperity to the country, and working with the leading companies and innovators actually to move much faster. And then we get this race to the top. So I think that is just an incredible opportunity now to move even faster.
Well, you've had your wish at least in two countries, Johan. Colombia and France have got roadmaps now. Okay, sorry. Well, thank you, Johan. It's just that the connection here was a little bit tricky. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to our wonderful guests in the studio, and Anna as well in Stockholm. Moving on, let's go.